Well, good morning and welcome back to a rather cold autumn morning. There's definitely a chill in the air. I think winter is just around the corner, so we need to get ready for it. But today we're going to talk about money in your pocket. Now, a lot of you know we've had a heat pump now for the best part of a year, and it's been saving us an absolute fortune. So we installed our heat pump at the back end of last year, but I'm just going to look at the numbers for this year so far, and I'm going to compare them to my gas bill from a year ago, because we used gas for central heating and for hot water exactly the same as the heat pump. And we used a tiny bit of gas for our gas hob, but to be honest, it's basically a rounding error. So putting in this device, this was a one-for-one swap. We took out our gas boiler, we put this device in. Now I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comments saying, yes, but these cost tens of thousands of pounds. This cost us £3,900 after the bus grant. The quotes that I got to replace our gas boiler were £3,700. So given we were going to replace the gas boiler anyway, it made no sense to put a new gas boiler in, given the cost of electricity, certainly our costs with our solar and battery system, of what it would cost us to drive this. So today I'm going to give you three prices and we're going to compare each of them to my gas bill from 1 year ago. We're going to look at each month. I'm going to show you the savings in the winter and I'm going to show you the savings in the summer. But the bottom line is, so far this year, this device has put £670 directly into my pocket. That means there's £670 that I can spend on whatever I want, not going to the shareholders of energy companies. Now, if you want to know more, follow me, we'll head into the office and I'll break it all down for you. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people in the comments saying, yes, but, and there'll be a million reasons why you can't do this. But ultimately, it's your money. You can spend it however you want. So if you want to continue to hand it over to the energy companies, you're quite within your rights to do that. Personally, I prefer my money in my bank account. So let's head inside and I'll show you what I'm talking about. But before we head in, we've got a very sad boy this morning. So he's having to wear the cone of shame because he's scratched himself on his face and it's got a little bit infected. He's looking very sorry for himself, aren't you, Bear? Come on, you're going to come in the office with me. So you've probably heard people say heat pumps are really expensive to run. And my answer to that is always, in relation to what? In relation to a gas boiler, in relation to somebody on a smart tariff, in relation to somebody who can't get a smart meter and has to pay standard rates for their electricity, or in relation to somebody like me who has solar and batteries. So is it expensive to run? Is it more expensive than gas? Well, today what I'm going to do is show you real world data. I'm going to show you my running costs. I'm going to take what it would cost if I were to change tariffs to Cozy. I'm going to show you what it would take to run if I put it on a standard tariff. I didn't have a smart meter, I was just paying a fixed tariff. And I'm going to show you what I would have paid 1 year ago to heat my house, exactly the same as I do now, with gas. So as most of you have been around the channel for a while know, we have solar and batteries in our house. We import energy overnight on the Octopus Intelligent Go tariff at 7 pence per kilowatt. Now we do use a little bit of power during the day. If the inverter can't ramp up quick enough for demand, we might import a tiny little bit. But I use an app called Octopus Watch, which I'll pop up on the screen now. Octopus Watch gives you lots of data about your Octopus tariff, how much energy you're using. But for me, one of the most important things is it gives me a daily average pence per kilowatt hour of what I'm actually paying. So it bases this on my entire day, and then it'll say, today you used an average of 7.8 pence per kilowatt hour. Now, on the whiteboard of truth behind me, what you'll see here is a large graph. So let me walk you through the graph and then we'll dig into the details. So what you can see here is starting in January 2025 up to the end of September 2025, each month has 4 bars. Now this is based on actual usage data. This is data that I get from my Shelly EM. This is an energy monitoring device that lives in the consumer unit next to the heat pump. So I know exactly how much energy the heat pump is drawing. And then the 4 bars are the blue bar, which is my cost, which is an average of 7.8 pence per kilowatt hour. The green bar is the Cozy tariff. So to calculate this, I went on the Octopus website, I checked out, put in my postcode, what would Cozy cost for me to get in this house? And then using the data from my batteries, I was able to work out that I'd be paying an average of about 20 pence per kilowatt hour. So some points during the day on Cozy, it's much cheaper. Some points of the day, it's much more expensive. And you get 3 points during the day that you can charge your batteries. So using all that data, I was able to work out an average of about 20 pence per kilowatt hour. Now, if you're on Cozy and you're in a different area of the country and you've got different size of batteries to me, then your mileage may vary. Then I went to the Octopus website and said, what if I don't have a smart meter? What are your fixed tariffs that are available? And there are a number of fixed tariffs depending on whether or not you want not an intelligent tariff, if you want a economy 7 tariff, or if you just want a standard tariff. With me, I don't have an economy 7 meter, I have a smart meter, so I can't get that. But that would give me a price of 25.26 pence per kilowatt hour if I was on a 12-month fixed tariff. So that would be paying the same amount, doesn't matter whether it's day, night, there are no cheap periods, just a flat rate throughout the year. And then the yellow bar is my actual gas costs from 1 year ago. So before we took out the gas boiler, I have all my gas bills. I'm able to look month by month and say, how much did I hand over to the energy company for my gas? And that's what you can see in this graph. So starting in January, all the way through to September. Now, October, November, and December, obviously I have that data from last year. So you can see we had a slight spike in October, but then it tailed off. That was because we installed our heat pump in November. So that's why our gas usage dropped off at the end of the year. But ignore those 3 for now. We'll come back to those in a future video. So let's talk about overall stats. So throughout the cost of the year, and in fact, if I jump across to the table data, and I'll make all of this data available if anybody wants it. So you can see here, we've got how much heat we produced, how much electricity we used, the price for our electricity on Intelligent Go, the price on Cozy, the price on a fixed tariff, and what we actually paid in gas as we go through the course of the year. Now, obviously we don't have October, November, and December's data yet because it is only the beginning of October right now. But this data is what we're visualizing in this graph. So over the course of the 10 months that we've been using the heat pump, we have produced 7,610 kilowatt hours of heat. And to do that, we've used 2,103 kilowatt hours of electricity. So for those that track coefficients of performance, that gives us a seasonal coefficient of performance of about 3.6. Aha, all the gas people immediately jumped in and said, but you don't have a coefficient of 4, therefore gas is cheaper. Well, it's not under any stretch of the imagination. So what does it actually cost me? So if we work on the principle that I'm not going to be using any of my solar, because my solar, I'm going to export it all to get solar credit payments for that. If we were going to import energy every single night of the year, we're going to fill our batteries up and we're going to run our heat pump, then this data is exactly what that shows. So that's exactly what we've done for the whole year. We've been on Octopus Intelligent Go for the whole year, and every single night we've filled our batteries up, even in the height of the summer, because we want to be able to export as much solar as we can to get the credits for that. So my cost for importing the energy for the heat pump for these 10 months of the year has been £133. Now remember, that's at 7.8 pence per kilowatt hour. If you'd been on Cozy, that would have been about £343. And on the fixed tariff, that would have been £614. So as you can see, easily, my costs are much lower. But not everybody has solar, and certainly not everybody has a very large battery bank. So even if we look at the Cozy price, Cozy is basically just over half the cost of the fixed tariff. And when we compare that to gas, even that fixed tariff, the most expensive way for you to buy electricity, is still cheaper than gas, because over that same period, we spent £670 on gas. So even at the highest rates, the heat pump still beats gas, even without a coefficient of 4. So why am I showing you all this data? Well, the reality is I want to make something very clear. It's really nice to have all the charts and to have all the data, but the thing that's really important is how much money are you saving? So over the 10 months of this year, there is £670 that has stayed in my bank account and not been paid to the energy company. And that doesn't include any solar export or anything else. That is just pure savings from using the heat pump to heat my hot water and heat my home throughout the course of the year. There's £670 that I would have had to hand over for gas payments that I'm not. Now imagine what you can do with £670. Well, I'm sure everybody who's watching this video has got a different plan. But ultimately, that's £670 that you can put into your bank. Now, I know what a lot of you are saying, but you had to spend £3,900 on the heat pump to be able to get that saving, and you've invested in solar. Well, I've had solar in my house now for over 15 years. We started on this journey in 2010. That solar system has completely paid for itself, twice over, and it's still returning money every single day of the week. But even if you decided that I'm not going to do solar, I'm not going to do batteries, I'm just going to put a heat pump in, I'm not even going to have a smart meter, I'm just going to take that fixed rate tariff, you would still be saving £120, £130 a year just using the heat pump. Now, it's not a huge amount of money, but £130 is still £130. That's a very nice meal out for you and your partner, or whatever you want to spend it on. It's your money, after all, that you're not handing over to the energy companies. Now, I know some of you are going to be saying, but you've got to take into account the cost of the heat pump. Well, for us, we were fortunate enough that our gas boiler decided to die. So I was forced into a position. I have to replace the gas boiler or I get a heat pump. The gas boiler was going to cost me £3,700. The heat pump cost me £3,900. It was a no-brainer because we can import all that energy, store it in our batteries, and that allows us to get this 7.8 pence per kilowatt hour price. So for me, it was an absolute no-brainer to get the heat pump. It also means we're not paying two standing charges. Remember, you pay a standing charge for gas and you pay a standing charge for your electricity. Now we don't have gas. That standing charge, about £120 a year, is money that's staying in my bank account. So ultimately, if we look at the different savings, leaving aside the solar and battery solution, because I understand not everybody has the funds to be able to install a system like that. But even if you just installed a heat pump and moved to the cozy tariff, you'd be saving about £460 a year. £460 a year is not a small amount of money. If you're on the standard tariff, it's about £190 a year. So that means that in no situation, you'll see no graph here, no bars on the graph, where gas is cheaper than running electricity, which is the grey bar. As you can see, every single month, the standard tariff is still cheaper than what we were paying for gas. Now, I'm standing here saying you'd be crazy to be on the standard tariff. But I understand there are a lot of people who can't get anything but the standard tariff. They might want to have a smart meter installed, but you may live in parts of the north of England where the signal for smart meters just doesn't work. Therefore, you don't have access to things like Octopus Intelligent Go or Cozy. You're stuck with the standard tariffs. So if that is you, then the grey bar would be your savings. You'd still be saving about £120 a year. And if you want to continue to hand over your hard-earned money to the energy companies, you do you. Nobody is forcing you to have a heat pump. Nobody is forcing you to give up your beloved gas boiler. You do what you want to do. All I'm trying to do here is show the real world savings, money that has stayed in my bank account this year, not been handed over to the energy companies. So to wrap this video up, the data says it all. This is not some prediction. This is not based on average use or anything like that. This is my house. This is the energy that I've been using to heat my house, and these are the savings that I've been able to realize in just the first 9 months of the year. I hope you found this interesting. If you have any questions, then please do hit me up in the comments. More than happy to discuss it. If you'd like me to send you a copy of the graph or the table or both, then happy to do that as well. With that, I'm going to sign off. It just remains for me to say thank you for clicking on this video. I hope you found this interesting. I hope this has been able to show you what is achievable. And if I'm lucky, I'll see you back here real soon for another video. Take care. Bye-bye.